the first thing is vocabulary. Having a shared vocabulary to talk about the tiny decisions that we make in the course of the day is incredibly important to educators as problem solvers and decision makers. When we have a name for it, we can talk about it. When we have a name for it, we can go deeper and study all the details of it. And so I think names are important. I also think names are important because they help people chunk things. The third thing is I think so much of the advice that's given to teachers comes from outside of teaching. I just really believe in honoring teachers by looking at the solutions that they've really derived and by studying them with video and being able to look at it and roll back the tape and look at it again. I think that video is an incredibly powerful tool for studying complex environments. People leave the profession because they can't manage a classroom that looks like what they dream about. There's just a gap in guidance for teachers in that area. And I think that, that's probably another small part of why Teach Like a Champion has been helpful to teachers, because it's filled in some of that gap with knowledge from actual teachers. Every teacher will be unique and every teacher will be different. I think it's a sad statement about education if we think we can't educate people to be educators. I think first you need a model of what success looks like. And that needs to be grounded in research, both practical research, what teachers actually do, and learning research, cognitive science, because I think the starting point is understanding how people learn. But once you have that, then you start to build professional development for teachers. So professional development has to be, I think, embedded in the life of the school. It has to be recurring. It has to be rigorous. And it has to be active, right? There has to be practice. Teaching, I think this is one of the least understood things about teaching, which is teaching is a performance profession. It's joyful to get together with a small group of teachers and talk about the craft of teaching and talk about the real challenges of the classroom. The first thing is what I would call the think ratio, which is cognitive science tells us that students remember what they think about, and that one of the things that is required to encode new learning in long-term memory is deliberate difficulty. You can't think hard about things you don't have background knowledge about. So to make this process of thinking hard about things work, I first have to give students knowledge. A community of cognitive science is overwhelmingly clear on this, like beyond debate. You cannot think deeply about topics that you don't know anything about. The second question that goes with that is what I would call the think ratio. So with the think ratio goes the participation ratio. It's important to understand that classrooms are first and foremost cultures, and I must shape the culture of my classroom. There is no default culture. There's no natural culture. So I have to build a culture that changes students' perception of their relationship to school and the endeavor of learning. And that is fundamentally what we do. We are culture builders. I promised you 4 things. The 4th thing I think is checking for understanding, which is, and the secret to teaching is knowing the difference between I taught it and they learned it. So I have to constantly be finding ways to assess learning as it's happening and watching for the streams of data that tell me whether students have learned. So often in classrooms, a student will speak and no one else will say anything afterwards, which says no one cared about what you said, don't speak again. If students get messages like that over and over again, they stop speaking in class and they stop doing what's educationally optimal. The single greatest influence on motivation and behavior is my perception of the peer norms. Actually, opportunity should be, you walk into a classroom that pushes you and challenges you to be great, and where you look around you and you're more likely to see your peers valuing you when you do things that make you successful. And that is one of the primary roles of the teacher, and it's very challenging to do. That culture building is part of our job as teachers, and it's hard, and much of it is invisible, but it's incredibly important. In fact, the way that you show them that they matter, that their time matters, that you care about their progress, is to teach them, and to teach them very well. You don't teach well because you've established relationships with students. You build relationships with students because you teach them well.